Anything I say to you may be out of date 5 minutes after I said it. So, stay woke. I know that's out of style nowadays. I thought I need to stay woke. If it was going like that, it's not like the tennis ball. You know, the tennis ball goes back and forth. This ball's just going. I'm pleased to be here with all of you. We're proud of our county. We're proud of our council. We're proud of our county executive, acting county executive in Jackson. Good to see you here. I am particularly proud of your leadership, Candace Daniels, who advises your president on a regular basis. Candace used to advise me and was in my office for some years. You did a wonderful job, Candace. Thank you very much. Alexander, thank you for your brilliance in marrying Candace. Very, very good tactical move. Which is obviously why you're being so successful. I want to say to all of you that I have never experienced in the over now a half a century that I've been in office, a time in which there was more insecurity. You know, one of the things business needs, one of the things most of us need is some degree of confidence that what we plan for tomorrow will be tomorrow. And very frankly, we had an election, and we have not been fooled. President Trump made it very clear what he was going to do. Russell Mott and others put together a plan in 2025 of what they were going to do. And presently, there's no probably area in America any more directly affected by what's happened in the last few days in terms of the executive orders. More executive orders than I think have been issued during any previous period of time that I've been in office, which has been a long time. And it will have extraordinary consequences on Prince George's County, Montgomery, Fairfax, Arlington, all the other jurisdictions that surround Washington, D.C. Why? Because we have a substantial role in the running of government. Now, let me tell you first, we have about 30% of the employees, 70 to 80% of the federal employees live someplace other than our region. So some people think, Glenn and I deal with this all the time. Glenn and I have been my colleague. Glenn, thank you very much. I know you're going to speak there after I do, and you can clean up whatever I said. And may stay away from woke, who knows? But business and all of us need some certainty. Some sense that we can plan, some sense that we can make plans for tomorrow, for next week, next month, next year, and for some years thereafter. Because if we don't have that confidence, people are not going to want to invest either their activity, their personal commitment of talent and time, or their money. And that's why it's such a difficult time that we're going through today. Now, we're in Prince George's County. We have witnessed some extraordinary success in Prince George's County. I know you may not have heard of J.Lo Daniels, but what an extraordinary young man who worked here in Prince George's County. And we hope he continues to work here in Prince George's County. All right? The Commanders won this year. I know they lost the last game. They won this year. There's not one of us who, in August of last year, would have said, look, this is what the Commanders are going to do. But they planned. They were sensitive to their people. We changed ownership, and what was the ownership focused on? Josh Harris and Israel. On their people. Because they knew their people were their most important resource. And in your businesses, and in government, and in every other enterprise, ultimately it is the people, the talent, their morale, their sense of confidence in their success being recognized tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know that County Executive Jackson, and then we're going to have an election. We have some candidates in the room. They're looking at what the federal policies will do to their ability to govern and to succeed in Prince George's County. Because we're deeply affected by that. And you have seen over just the last few days, since the 20th, on a daily basis, executive orders issued that are going to have an impact on everybody in this room. First of all, of course, we have a large number of federal employees. And their pay, benefits, work status impacts us almost immediately. Now, they get a pretty good cost of living adjustment this time. That affects us 1.5%. And it affects us immediately in terms of our economic, because it affects our consumers and their psychology of whether they can spend money and invest and buy things, services and goods. So we are immediately affected by what the federal government's doing. And I am personally very, very concerned about this offer. By the way, it is similar to the offer that Elon Musk made to his people when he bought his enterprise for $44 billion. And he said 40% were gone not too long thereafter. I want you to contemplate what 40% reduction of the federal workforce would have. Not only would it have fiscal ramifications right away, but it would also have immediate fiscal ramifications to us. He's talking about a buyout, essentially. 8 months pay. That's a lot of pay, so it'd be a surge in pay. I don't know how many people between now and February 6th, that's the time that the executive order gave to make this decision as to whether or not you want to leave the service of the federal government. None of you would have told me 2 months ago that the federal force may be reduced by 40%. Because if you had, you would have thought, what does this do for our business in Prince George's County? Because after all, our business, we're a company town in some respects. Now the good news, we've diversified. We have some extraordinary enterprises in Prince George's County that aren't directly dependent on the federal government, but all of them are indirectly dependent on the federal government. So it's going to be a very challenging time as we move forward in trying to respond to the administration's efforts. First of all, we want to try to protect our federal employees who have been conscientiously, effectively, the best service in the world. The best service in the world. And all the enterprises we have in Prince George's County we have the IRS, we've got a Space Flight Center, we have Andrews Vickers. We have so many other enterprises. And when I talk about certainty, I've been working on a project for Prince George's County, along with the Prince George's executives, the Prince George's Council, the governor of our state legislatures. We've all been working in harness since 2009. Now, the group was not as large in 2009. It was me and Mueller at that point in time. And then Cardin joined on. And then we all got together to put forward with the fathers and mothers in Greenbelt a project that is best for our country. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is the premier law enforcement in America. And through the competition over the last 15 years, we've been successful in having our county selected by the General Services Administration that was charged with the responsibility of making a choice between multiple sites. We have been chosen for that site. And we have a big, at Greenbelt City Hall, we had a big celebration a number of months ago. And then, frankly, our competitive friends from Virginia raised the question, well, it wasn't done exactly right. Now, one of the reasons they made that suggestion is because when GSA found out their site was not competitive and ours was. It was an open site, it could be developed more quickly, in proximity to Metro, 450 feet. It could be developed more quickly, and it would be over $1 billion cheaper to put it here than it would have been to put it in Springfield. Now, of course, the FBI director wanted to keep it in town. That would be the most expensive option of all, because the building is not usable, it's falling down, it is dangerous to the employee and a danger to those who walk around the building. And if you stayed there, as the director of the FBI wanted to do, if you stayed there, you would have had to get lease space for 7,500, give or take, folks, while that building was being torn down and rebuilt. So it would have taken more time and billions of dollars more, at least $1 billion more. So the choice that was made was a good one. Unfortunately and sadly, however, our Republican friends are angry at the FBI, and the president in particular is angry at the FBI. Mar-a-Lago, and remember, went in, got papers that were taken and seen. And the president has said he wants to, in effect, dismember the FBI and send it to different jurisdictions around the country. The least effective action to take, and an action that seems to be threatening us because of personal animus. But I want you to know, your county executives, your county council, your state legislature, your state senators, and your congressional delegation is working very, very hard to make sure that the decision of the GSA to bring a $4 billion development project in person of the FBI to Greenbelt. That's the most critical physical structure that we will bring to Prince George's County, I think, ever. Now we have Andrews Air Force Base, obviously that's big. We have a number of others. The federal courthouse that I worked on is here, and will be in great proximity, Glenn, to the FBI, which will be a great advantage in and of itself. And we do so, I think we're going to do so hopefully successfully, because of what all of you do. Because the infrastructure, the business, the people, the training, the educational level, the economic level of the people of Prince George's County, which all of you have an impact on, are such that it is the best place to put this facility in the Washington metropolitan regional area. So I thank each and every one of you for what you do every day. You know, I grew up in Prince George County. I lived in the District Heights apartments. I don't know whether you know where the District Heights apartments are, but I grew up in the District Heights apartments, and I went to Suitland High School. Alexander's clapping. You didn't go to Suitland High School. Big children. Alexander went to Suitland High School. Stand up. You know. Go away. Go. Anybody else at Suitland High School? Oh, right, in the back of the room. A lady in the white dress. Dear old Suitland High School, we are proud of you. And our colors, too. So we have a challenge in Prince George County. But you know, Quinn had a challenge. Rails had a challenge. Harris had a challenge. Jalen Daniels had a challenge. And they met that challenge. They met that and they're going to exceed it in the times ahead. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it because, you know, we have a new United States Senator. I don't know whether Angela is going to be here today. But Angela also knows Prince George County backwards and forwards, and she is committed to making sure that Prince George County is not forgotten. You know, I'm old enough, older than all of you, I'm old enough to remember when we had the argument with the Washington Post about PG County. How many of you call PW County PW County? You know what PW County is? Prince William County in Virginia. Nobody calls it PW County. There's no reason why they don't call Prince George's County PG County. And by the way, I think I told this to some few people, but my father was born in Denmark. How many of you know that Prince George was a Danish prince, married to Queen Anne of England? And that's why we got that name. We have brought dignity. Wayne Kelly was the first one that really took on this, but our county executives thereafter have done that. And now Angela Alsobrooks on the floor of the United States Senate is going to be talking about Prince George's County, what it has to offer America. Not just what America has to offer to Prince George County, but what Prince George County has to offer to America. I was kidding about woke. Nancy Pelosi said that diversity is our strength. Our power is in our unity. So diversity and unity has made our county strong, has made our country strong, and we must continue to fight for the recognition of the individual integrity of each and every one of our citizens in America. Our federal employees, and those of you who are not federal employees, be sensitive to their concerns. What do you try to do in your business? Try to build up the morale of your people. What do we do in the federal government? We tell them we're going to shut down, we may not be able to pay their salary, the government may close down. Every year we have this crisis that we call CR, funding of our government. We need to urge each member of Congress and every relative that you know around the country, stop doing that. How many of you would say to your employees, I'm not sure we're going to be in business on October 1, because I don't know whether we're going to spend money after October 1. None of you would do that. Because your employees would be very concerned, and your best employees would leave, and your other employees would be demoralized. That's what we'll do. We have a home rule that the Republicans are very high on, which means that they could cut your salary to $1. Would you stay? Would you work for an enterprise like that? Would you feel like they cared about you as an employee? You would not. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know exactly what's going to happen today, tomorrow, the next day. But I do know that this administration has evidenced a determination to undermine the stability and the confidence that America has in its federal government. And that hurts us. And it hurts our country. So I urge all of us to be aware of the fact that can the federal government be improved? Of course it can. Are there some things that we perhaps do that we ought not to do? We don't do them very efficiently? Of course there is. My wife, some of you know I got married a year and a half ago. I figured I was 84, I needed something to do. So I got married. That was a damn good decision, folks. I want you to know that. I mention Elaine because she was the author of Reinventing Government with the Clinton-Gore administration. She worked in the White House. It is a worthwhile enterprise, but if you do it in a fashion that simply has as a premise, the federal government is somewhat irrelevant, wasteful, fraud, abuse, and you just cut with an axe. You will cut America and the services that people need. This recent order the president made yesterday or the day before was to cut spending, or not to cut it, because that's illegal. The founding fathers said the Congress of the United States to raise and spend money. That was Article 1. In Article 2, they set up an executive to carry out the policies that the Congress establishes. And what we see is a president proceeding without concern for that constitutional requirement. The Congress sets the spending objectives. And empowerment is just keeping money that the Congress has said will be spent and freezing it. The president did that, as you may recall, with President Zelensky in Ukraine. So we want to be very careful about that. How many of you get some federal contract money? Raise your hand. A lot of it. And indirectly, almost all of you that are in business in Prince George County get some of that money. Either because consumers' salaries, other contractors are buying your services or goods. So ladies and gentlemen, as we were some years ago, we were a little discouraged by our Washington commanders not doing as well as we'd like. They changed that. We're going to change this. We're going to change it because we're going to change it. We're going to change it because we look the truth in the eye and say, this is the truth. We're going to change it because we know the American people, and indeed the world, that is equally concerned about what's happening in the United States of America. We're going to change it because the American people, notwithstanding their vote in November, are going to know the truth of the willingness of America to be positive and deal with our problems effectively without destroying the strength and quality and morality of America. Each and every one of us has a responsibility to achieve that objective, and if we do so, the business environment in America will continue to be strong, growing, and making our lives better for all of our fellow citizens. God bless you and God bless you.